Question I keep asking people these days is, what do we even mean when we say journalist? Do you know what a journalist is? Should there be professional standards? Should there be licensing? Is there a reason Tucker Carlson's not a journalist? I don't think I'm a journalist, but maybe I am. Couldn't an average person function like a journalist? I don't know what it is anymore.
Here's what journalism is. This is what journalism is: peeking your head down the street and reporting back what you see. That's what journalism is. And anybody could be a journalist because that's what it is. They don't want you to think that's what it is. They want you to think it's some kind of special class of person, because if anybody could do it, then everybody has a voice. And that's the last thing they want. So yes, you do journalism.
Did this take it away? Did this thing take it away? The phone, the fact that we have Twitter Spaces, and the fact that we can take pictures of everything, wherever we want. Where's my phone? There.
It certainly helps. It certainly helps turn everybody into a journalist, doesn't it? And by the way, when you gave my introduction, you could say you can see me everywhere. You can see me everywhere except TikTok. I got kicked off TikTok finally. And that's because TikTok is the most subservient to the security state, meaning the FBI and the CIA. And they do whatever they say because they don't want to lose their market share in the United States. They're not, anyway, so that's just another story. But anyway.
Didn't you have
We got in trouble on TikTok and I refused to go on there. I mean, I might look at my friends, but we
Susan
don't post
is very
anymore.
concerned about
I think it's China.
Right. She's very concerned about the Chinese Communist Party controlling things. She figures that it's their business, so therefore they're involved with this. But you had an actual run-in with the FBI, didn't you, Jimmy?
I don't know. I don't remember me having a run-in.
I thought you told me that they showed up. Maybe it was Jimmy Dore that was telling me that. I mean, sorry, James O'Keefe, that somebody actually showed up and investigated you because I guess it was O'Keefe that had that happen to him. Yeah. And he was saying that was where his sort of shift came, where he started not trusting the government and start worrying about the overreach of the intelligence community and whatnot. And certainly I feel like the Twitter files have opened most eyes to the excesses, and yet they keep going on. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I hope you're right about that. It's opened people's eyes, because I don't think it did. I think people so what they're told in the corporate media is to dismiss it as Elon Musk and some right-wing kind of charade or some kind of scam that the right-wingers who are the and the anti-vaxxers, and they don't. So nobody actually really. And I was wishing more people would look into Matt Type, because you saw what the Democrats did so they always pretend that Donald Trump was the enemy of journalists. So of course, every accusation they make about Donald Trump is a confession, and because that's what they're doing. It's called projection.
It's a projection. Projection, yeah. A friend of mine, I saw a psychoanalyst on an interview just the other day saying, whenever you hear a narcissist say, I am, no, you are, what you should hear is, I am. They always project. You are fill in the blank, but they really feel the reality is I am.
And so if you watch those congressional hearings with the Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, it is disgraceful what happened. And I'm like, so now you know why people vote for Donald Trump, because both parties are completely bought. So I try to tell people, I go, we're run by a cabal of billionaires. They're like, oh, Jimmy, really? What kind of meetings do they have? I'll tell you the meetings they have. The meeting they have is called a session of Congress. And
more great guests for you lined up today. The great Jillian Michaels comes in just a second. She, of course, is a fitness expert, entrepreneur, personality. The Fitness app, it's an award-winning app. 8 New York Times best-selling book. Keeping It Real is the podcast where she's been expressing her mind quite a bit lately, and we want to dig into that. Certified trainer, black belt in a couple of martial arts, CEO of Empowered Media. We'll be talking to her. You can find out more at JillianMichaels.com. We can see the Fitness app. And she's Jillian Michaels on X. And after we chatted up with Jillian for a while, Drea De Matteo is making a swing by. Susan saw her going wild on X, and she thought, we need to talk to Drea. And that's always a privilege. And we will do that after Jillian, who's up right after this. Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm I'm just saying.
You go to treatment before you kill people.
I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals.
Let's just deal with what's real.
We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time.
Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Joint and muscle pains are exhausting and frustrating, but I've got a over-the-counter medication I want to introduce you to that provides great relief using the power of, check it out, chili peppers. Capsidin is made with a proprietary formula that contains no non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, no opioids, no anesthetic or steroid, nothing, no chance for addiction, no side effects, no chance it's going to interact with other medication you might be taking. Capsidin contains capsaicin, which is the substance in chili peppers that burns your tongue. That gives you that burny feeling. And of course, I've recommended capsaicin creams to patients over the years, but other capsaicin creams burn your skin. That's what makes capsidin so unique. In clinical trials, capsidin has actually been demonstrated not to burn.
I've been using Capsidin to relieve my pain in my hands and my wrist from carpal tunnel syndrome and arthritis. The results have been amazing. I use it every day during my show, and I highly recommend it.
Get the pain relief you need from various sources, even backache, sprains, bruises even. Order now at capsidin.com/Drew to get a 15% discount plus free shipping. That is CAPSADYN, capsidin.com/DREW. Susan was just saying that she's going to be putting the capsidin on as we speak.
Doing it right now.
Jillian Michaels.
It works.
Jillian Michaels, Trump wasn't her first choice, but Tulsi Gabbard was. And it's one of the interesting things about the campaigning yesterday was Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard added a really interesting flavor to Donald Trump's candidacy. And at very minimum, if you were a champion or a fan of one of those folks, when you see them getting behind him, it makes you at least think, well, I definitely could sign up for that guy. And he thinks this is a good idea, so maybe I should follow what he or she is saying. Jillian, as I said, fitness expert, CEO of Empowered Media, LLC. The pod is keeping it real. It's award-winning. You can find it where you find all the usual apps, usual podcasts. At Jillian Michaels, I'm going to spell it all out for you so there's no confusion. Jillian, Michaels, Michaels on X, and JillianMichaels.com. You get the fitness app there. Jillian, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hi, Doc. How are you?
I am great. I don't see you yet. Did something happen, Caleb?
Yeah, having a technical difficulty here.
Oh, technical. Well, can she and I chat in the meantime anyway?
Yes.
All right. So listen, one of the things that you and I, are back to the majority of our conversation last time you and I met, and the Callie Means sister, Casey Means, followed me into your studios afterwards. So we were talking a lot about food sourcing and food health and the poisoning of the American metabolism. And I think that's going to begin to be addressed now as a result of people like RFK Jr. getting in there. Do you agree?
I am so hopeful. I have waited decades for this, 3 decades approximately. And I think that we're fighting Goliath without question. And when I say we, I mean all of us. You know, anybody in this space has been hoping for this for quite some time, and we see hope. We see a pathway in. So I'll say very optimistic. I'm very optimistic that we can at least make a dent.
So how do you frame the problem? You've been interviewing all these great people, and Caleb, I want to be able to see Jillian. It's driving me a little crazy. Is that likely to happen soon?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to get it. The entire system is locked up, so you can keep going. You're streaming, but I'm trying to make us not have to restart the show. So just keep going. I'll get her up. I'm getting it. I'm working on it.
Talking.
We got it.
All right. I declared that last night was the death of mainstream media, particularly news, and that the digital media sources were the ones that prevailed. And of course, I was on Dave Rubin's thing last night. I had a technical problem. And now, as we start the day today, we get our technical issues here too.
Oh, your earbud was just turned off. It wasn't that big a deal.
It was not that big a deal, to be fair. But so back to how you frame the problem. I see that Thomas Massey is being considered for Secretary of Agriculture. A gentleman who I'm not familiar with, who's a champion of regenerative farming, apparently is going to be the second in command there. He put out a long tweet today that I retweeted. For people who don't understand the nature of the problem in this country, how could you frame it for them in a way that they can digest it relatively simply?
Okay, it's just, as Callie says, it's raw economic incentive. It's big corporations that have found loopholes in our laws to commandeer wellness, and it starts with big farming. So you've got billions of tax subsidy dollars that go to grow monoculture crops like genetically engineered corn, genetically engineered soy. These crops are sprayed with a host of toxins, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, chemical fertilizers. The soil's depleted. They already have no nutrients. This begets a glut of cheap, toxic calories that big food turns around and grabs and makes a boon of ultra-processed garbage. They have their scientists put another spin on the food with, oh my gosh, emulsifiers, anti-caking agents, artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives, arguably 10,000 chemicals that found their way into the food supply through a loophole in 2000 through the FDA. And then they make the food ubiquitous. So it's highly addictive. We're surrounded by it constantly. It hijacks our biology, so we literally cannot eat just one. It smashes the dopamine center of our brain so that we are driven to go to it whenever we're sad, mad, depressed, anxious. And from that point, big pharma enters and says, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look at all of the diseases that our system begets for us to sell you drugs. And you've got a host of lifestyle diseases like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arguably cancer, heart disease. And while, yes, there is a certain genetic predisposition, I talk to you guys all day long, Doc. You and I talked about this. You brought in, mentioned Dr. Casey Means. We can upregulate the expression of our genetics based on how we live, right? What we're eating. And so really it is this toxic triad of corporate greed corrupting the system and setting us all up to fail. That's what's been going on. And that's what we hope Kennedy will disrupt.
The thing that Callie pointed out to me that was so astonishing, which was that the tobacco companies, which there's universal agreement, this was an evil empire with evil intent and evil consequences, that literally the very same companies bought the food companies, moved the scientists, moved the marketers, and moved the lobbyists right on over to these food companies. And Callie was one of them. He was a lobbyist. And he said, we use the exact same techniques and the same strategies, the same philosophy as the tobacco company. Tobacco was about making tobacco more addictive with nicotine. Food is about making food more addictive with the yummy, with the raising the ghrelin levels, which is raising in sugar and insulin, all these things that make us hungry 5 minutes later.
Yep, 100%. And the food is designed to undermine satiety. And when you think about these drugs are a perfect example, right? Like GLP-1 mimicking drugs. Okay, so they're taking a hormone that is in the body for about 15 minutes that's designed to signal, hey, stop eating, you're full. This lasts for 7 days in the body. But nevertheless, what's going to release satiety hormones? Well, fiber, protein, fat. When you consume something like a big gulp, there are none of the things I just mentioned in it. So not only is it not releasing satiety hormones, it's spiking your insulin. It ultimately will cause a blood sugar crash, making you more hungry, more fatigued, and it's just absolutely vicious. There's a term for this, and it's called structural violence, because all of this is by design, as you mentioned. It's all on purpose. Obesity is the default for the human condition by design.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned fat and satiety. I've been fighting back on the war against fat for quite some time, because it turns out all of that was founded on one guy's notions that has been largely dismantled in terms of its accuracy. And in the meantime, we should be using more butter. We should be using more tallow. We should be eating foods rich in certain fats. There's ways to get good fats into our system, and that helps with satiety and it helps with diet.
Absolutely. I mean, I tend to think of it as a continuum, right? And I've spoken to a lot of PhDs in nutrition science over the course of my career, and they'll kind of say, listen, if you want to be keto, if you want to be carnivore, if you want to be vegan, the body finds a way. Is there one that's ideal to another, arguably superior to another? Potentially. But the bottom line is that all of these stack up to the standard American diet with extraordinary superiority. In other words,
right.
All of them are
That's
going
right.
to
No, listen. Any conscious eating, just eliminating seed oils, and that requiring you to read labels. By the way, all those walnuts, Susan and Cash, and all in seed oils. They're made. That's why you got to get the raw nuts. They're all done in seed oils. There's huge bags of seed oil, rancid walnuts. But that's how they get you. It's in everything. And but once you start reading labels, you start looking at everything else in there, and it makes you conscious of what you're putting in your system.
You know what though, Doc? You said something, it's in everything, and it makes it extraordinarily difficult. So while I've been a massive proponent for self-agency, right? Like, here's the good news. We cannot drink the soda. We cannot buy the vapes. We cannot, all those things. We can opt out, which is wonderful. But then there's your wife eating seed oils, thinking she's being healthy because it is in everything. And this is where people need a systemic change. It's in the water. It's in the air. It's in the beauty products. Like, we are being inundated, and while good choices go a hell of a long way, giving people some support here will make a really big difference.
I agree. Caleb, I'm going to go out to you. I really want to see Jillian while I speak with her. Should we restart things to get that back up?
Well,
you think?
that's what I might think that we should do, because literally I'm shocked we're still streaming live. My entire system, all 5 monitors are
The
bright
aliens
gray.
are here, Caleb.
They're here.
Well,
Our aliens are landing.
Normally,
in Pasadena.
Jillian, just normally Susan would blame the Chinese Communist Party. Normally it's the CCP doing something nasty. But I think she's moved off that a little bit with the recent change.
Special.
I see. That's what that was.
Yeah. So if everybody out there is willing to find us again and restart the show, we can see Jillian and also Drea at some point.
Yeah, I think we do need to see them both. And Jillian, when we go off and restart, you go ahead and retweet everybody, in fact, that we're speaking to. Retweet the stream will come up on Twitter right when we come back on. Please retweet it. And let's get everybody back on the ship again.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to see.
We're going to go away, come back. Everybody on YouTube, we're going to log out, come back. Everybody on Facebook, X, everybody, just, all 8,000 people over.
It's very
Technically?
likely
We're
that you'll
hoping,
be able
yeah.
to stay at the same link on Rumble and on YouTube, but just watch the channels, because I'm just we'll
All right, so
restart.
keep an eye. Just watch, see if it just comes right
put
back
up
up.
the difficulties.
All right,
put up
here we go.
The technical difficulty sign just to make
If I
everybody
can.
laugh on the
Let's
way
see
out.
if I can do that.
Oh, you
3,
can't. Okay, never
a
mind.
2, a 1.
See you in a bit.
Maybe not.